Good morning. It is 5:53 a.m. and I believe it's Saturday or Sunday. Let me see, let me just make sure here. It's actually, oh wow, it is Sunday. It's Sunday, May 18th, and since it's early, I'm just kind of hanging out and doing some thinking. The sun's already up, but I have the curtains drawn, so the sun won't come in yet. Usually I let the sun come in, but I just kind of want the room a little bit dim right now. So anyway, um, you know, I was thinking that I forgot to mention something last night when I made my video, and I felt as though it was important because it's been on my mind. I know I don't believe that I'm the only. I don't consider myself a celebrity, but I know that my biological mother is a celebrity. And I also know that I got an intuitive message that there's a lot of accounts or social media accounts for a lot of celebrities that seem like they may be kind of like mine, kind of shadow banned, and I don't believe that that's a coincidence. So, but just be careful about who you communicate with online, okay? Because not everybody is, um, honest. Is all I'm saying. I had made a few videos yesterday because I was very unhappy about the things that I had found out, but I needed to find out. I needed to find out because this was a covert operation, okay? And nobody wanted to divulge any information. And I know that my biological mother, Diana Ross, okay, I do not appreciate the problems that she has caused me, and this sort of competition. Like I said, I okay. I felt as though these sort of activities that they were enacting were creating fear in me, and they were meant to intimidate me, meaning like make me worry. Okay, the very fact that they create problems for my professional life, meaning I have problems getting a job and all this other stuff is because of them. Now I know that Rex Laverne's wife, probably in combination with Diana Ross or whatever. After I had left Rex Laverne's place, I seriously was hoping that I would not have to worry about being stalked anymore. I thought that that was the end of it. It was like, I had talked about, my severe anxiety and my severe depression because, um, somebody who would, shadow ban you, conspire against you, work against you to manipulate your work, manipulate your reputation, uh, coordinate with other employers to try to prevent me from getting employed and kind of forcing me into employment situations that were only suitable, to Rex Laverne and what he thought I was entitled to have. That has been an absolute nightmare. It has been an absolute nightmare and an extreme source of depression for me, being in a forced network, okay? And, I had found out about my mother's involvement, Diana Ross's involvement, about a week ago when I was working on a spread, and I started, messing around with the little cards, and I realized that, she was involved in it. Now, I didn't realize that, I knew that Diana Ross was my biological mother. I think I found this out in 2023. I only communicated with her one time, thinking that perhaps maybe she would follow up at one point, but she never really did, okay? So we kind of dropped it. And I started to think, okay, maybe this isn't such a good idea because, she gave me up for adoption. And then I started realizing that, she gave me up for adoption and my parents raised me, and she willingly gave me up for adoption. So, that kind of made me a little suspicious and leery of her, but I pretty much forgot about her. I really didn't focus too deeply on her. So when I found out that she was involved in it, I became very angry because, I understand a lot of times, you get these people who want to put people up for adoption. Parents will put people up for adoption. And then years later, they want to show interest in people when the child might seem to a person to be successful. Okay, now mind you, she has manipulated things. I believe Rex Laverne's wife has manipulated things, and Rex Laverne at one time was manipulating things, and they had no right to, and it has affected my life. You know what I mean? Um, this is a dangerous, thing that, a lot of, I would say, not a lot of, but, a lot of people, I guess a lot of people would, think that their boss would have that kind of authority over them. A lot of people do not know what their rights are, okay? And this is why it's extremely dangerous, working for some of these employers in this community, because like Rex Laverne, it wasn't just enough to, work a job and get paid for my compensation. That's the end of the transaction. Meaning, like, if I'm getting hired to process, payables or whatever, then that's what I'm gonna do. And then after I clock out, I go home. But he seemed as if he had these ridiculous conditions for his terms of employment, and he would try to, like in this case, the guy who my son was working for, was getting instructions on, I believe from Diana Ross or something like that. And because my son, is not in charge of me or whatever, I believe that, my son lost his job because his boss didn't like the way that I lived. And mind you, I have every right to live the way I want to live. So the intuitive message I'm getting right now, I believe, okay, it was a combination of possibly Diana Ross and Rex Laverne's wife, okay, because Rex Laverne's wife has been like, basically stalking me and, taking control of, she honestly thought that she had the right to control my career. Okay, and all of this comes from the fact that they were, filming this apparition, which took place years before I actually worked in, for Laverne and Son. Okay, they took pictures of the apparition either through like regular photographs or through video or whatever, and surveillance or whatever. And because they, I guess, drew something of like a large attraction towards it, they felt as though they needed to gain control over me. Okay. And this is like, this is what has been holding me back for the longest time. Now, mind you, I believe that my son knows about this stuff. Possibly. Okay. They probably know, he probably knows a amount of it because he may have some sort of association with, the people that, Rex Laverne's family knows. Okay. And plus, the company that my son was working for, I do believe that they were associated with Rex Laverne's company in an indirect way, Anyway, yeah, I'm very upset about what happened. Okay, I'm very, very upset that this woman, had it in her head that she had some sort of right to do this. You know what I mean? And I can't forgive it. It's like, I'm sitting here thinking about, my Patreon thing, okay? I am absolutely like devastated and shocked that Patreon or any company, okay, would be willing to collaborate with someone outside of whose name is listed on the electronic contract that they signed, okay. And this is what I want to tell people, if you're a content creator, and I've said this before, if you're a content creator, be very careful about your work. Okay, now I do understand that, these people are traffickers, okay? And I had talked a little bit more about and described, what traffickers do, the things that they do. And I'm going to explain it more in the moral reset. But these are the very characteristics of human trafficking. Isolating the victim, okay? Creating a narrative, the reason why, making it so isolating, and some of the tactics of isolating a victim is telling people not to communicate with them, spreading rumors about them, okay? That is one of the main reasons how they get people to shun an individual, okay? So these are the sort of things you need to question. When these sort of things, somebody asks you to not communicate with a person, I'm going to tell you, this particular video, I think it's my second video. I'm going to make it my second video because I'm wrapping up the first video, and I'm also going to be wrapping up the second video. And it's funny because they all started off as one video, and then I kept thinking, okay, I'm going to split these, okay, because I wanted them in a certain order. But what I'm talking about is like, for example, the chemicals that we need in our brain chemicals that can be generated naturally and are essential for us to function properly. Things like sunlight, okay? Things like going for a walk, things like movement, right? Things like, yeah, exercise, sunlight, all the things to that are required to receive things like dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins. Okay, and I find it very odd. Okay, that all the things that are required for a person to function well, that these people wanted to prevent me from doing. Like, I have every right to step outside and go for a walk when I'm filled with anxiety or I'm filled with depression. Sunlight has helped me for years. Okay, it has always been something to revitalize me, and that's my choice, right? But there was a time when they're like, okay, we don't want her leaving the house. I think it had something to do with the apparition. I have every right to walk outside the house. You know what I mean? And I have every right to live my life. You know what I mean? And see what these people were doing were they were causing all kinds of severe depression. That was one year where I was just feeling like I cannot get over what these people were doing. And every time I do something, I'd have somebody come up to me and say a snide remark. No one has the right to tell me how to live my life. You know what I mean? I think what maybe Diana Ross wanted me to do is, I I'm somewhere of a I am a bohemian, meaning like I put thought into the things that I want to be a part of. Like just because something is popular or just because something is trendy doesn't mean that I'm going to accept it or want to follow it. Okay, and I also understand that maybe perhaps she's used to being a celebrity and being in the industry. Celebrities are more mainstream in their thinking, okay? And I'm somebody who shuns that 100%. I don't want anything to do with mainstream thinking, okay? Because I often see that mainstream thinking can lead people into a very bad situation. Just because a majority of people believe something doesn't make it right. It doesn't make it right. And just like, the majority of people like in this situation who thought that Rex Laverne was right, he was wrong. He was dead wrong, okay? And so I'm somebody who, if I can't find anything to, back up a claim or substantiate something, then I'm going to, steer clear of it. Aside from that, I'm not into flashy stuff. Meaning like, um, I like nice things, but I'm not somebody who is willing to bend over backwards for them. Okay, I'm a pretty down to earth person, and I don't mesh well with Diana Ross in her lifestyle, and I don't agree with those sort of things. Okay, and so I believe that Diana Ross may have known that maybe Elon Musk was interested in knowing me, and she wanted to take control over that situation. And like I said, if Elon Musk was a devout Mormon or whatever, and he accepted that faith, I would accept that. Okay, I would never convert my religion just to be in a relationship with somebody, because I've seen people do stuff like that. I've seen people do stuff like that. And I'm somebody who is very comfortable with my eclectic lifestyle. And if I was to walk into a religion, right? If I was to walk into a religion, then a lot of times religions have very strict doctrines that their members are, expected to adhere to, and that's their choice. Okay, we live in a country where we have freedom of religion. And there are people in this country who are atheist, meaning that they don't believe in a deity or God at all. Then we have some people who are, what do you call it? Atheist, and we have, what is the word for it? Agnostic. Agnostic means like they don't really believe that there is they can't prove it that there's a God or not. So they just say, well, who's to say? So they're kind of stuck in the middle, okay? And then there's certain people who have different kinds of religions. And, I highly resent people trying to make this issue an employment issue when I've said it many times before, you don't discriminate against religion. And see, when you say these things, right, because these people are presenting me or bullying me and backing me into a corner. And every time I try to explain myself, like, okay, look, I need you to understand that this is, it's against the law, or it is against the law, but, it's my right? Then they think it's a competition. They look at it as a competition. You know, like, and this is what it terrifies me. Like, I got this message in my mind about, okay, now we all know the whole Rex Laverne thing was extremely traumatizing, right? And I just want to move on with my life. I do not want to have to justify why I do the things that I do. I just, this is my life, okay? I go out sometimes on the afternoon. I go to the park, or at the park. Yeah, sometimes I go to the park, but I'll go to the library or whatever, go to the store or whatever. And that's about the extent of my life, okay? Now, I don't know when my father's apparition appears, but I will tell you, I just recently found out about it, right? And this is what I put in the newsletter just recently. So all the times before when I used to go for a walk, I was just going for a walk. I had no idea, but I did know that people wanted me to stay in the house, and people would say a bunch of stuff like, oh, you're out riding your bike today. Are you doing this, or why are you taking care of your body? And I really don't like. That's just intrusive. It's rude. Okay. And so I kept thinking, what is going on? Okay, my father's apparition is not meant to be a competition. I literally had no idea or even control over that. And see, this is why, I deal with people who are extremely competitive against me. And see, sometimes people think that if you strive for the best kind of life, like me, I believe that you should live for the best, highest quality life you could possibly get. Okay, and to me, if you're not, then I don't see why you should even bother living. So I strive for the best quality life I can have. That is not a competition. That's just the way it's supposed to be. Okay, like if I had a child, my son's grown, right? But I used to try to encourage my son, to have like the best kind of life, meaning like to his views, okay? And so I get very angry when I understand that these people were coming around behind my back and indoctrinating him with something else. And I do believe they were doing this since he was a kid, okay? And I do not appreciate it. You had no right to do that. You had no right to do that, okay? But like I said, these people were raised in a certain way, and I'm not, faulting them for that. But the problem is that they don't understand that I don't believe in their religion, and nobody is required to be a part of their religion, and they should have never spread this sort of propaganda within the community. Okay, and I seriously do regret it, and not just that. I actually have anxiety over it because I was stalked for such a long time. I was stalked for a very long time, and I kept saying it over and over again. Could you leave me alone? Please leave me alone. Okay, I'm done with this. And then, like I said, after Rex Laverne's plays, I kept thinking, okay, um, good, I got my main perpetrator. And when I found out that his wife was still hanging on, oh my God, I can't take this anymore. You know what I mean? I don't know why Diana was. Why couldn't she just accept the fact that I wasn't into, the things that she wants me to be into? I can't even pretend to care about that stuff. I can't pretend to care about it. And so back in the 90s, I talked a little bit about this in my project, very little, but I do know that when in the 90s, I started to realize that I don't want to really be a part of society. Meaning, like, I live in society, right? And I kept thinking, okay, I really want to make certain choices for me. Okay, I really understood that not everybody, to me, did things that I was comfortable with. So I kept thinking, okay, I need to build the kind of life that I want to live. And a lot of people take, they build the life that they want to live. Like, for example, some people who can afford it, they might move to like beachfront property or something, and of course I can't afford those sort of things, but I choose to surround myself with the things that I like. I always wanted to have a place in my house where I do, arts and crafts. I have, enough arts and crafts supplies and stuff. And I already knew that I did not want religion to be a part of my life. Okay, and I really did not feel as though I need religion to be a part of my life. And you know why? I think I have an excellent moral system. Okay, and I don't need religion to do that. Okay, and I don't like being in having my life threatened. Okay, when you try to make religion a criteria for employment, okay, that is very much like sticking a gun to somebody's head. Okay, because I don't believe, now I'm not trying to insult anybody, okay, but this is my personal belief why I chose not to be a part of religion, because it would not, my quality of my life would not be satisfactory to me. Okay, it would not bring me satisfaction to follow a religion. Okay, I have my own codes and my own morals. And do I believe that I'm in alignment with God? Yes, because I believe that I've been, you know, chosen in all my lives. But I've had serious problems with things like, religion. And, like I said, I believe that religion is man made. And that doesn't mean that religion is necessarily bad. It's just that, I steer clear of it. Okay. So, yeah, this whole thing caused me a lot of anxiety. I cannot sit here and say or think that people are deserving deserving of it, of forgiveness. Meaning, like, I was begging for my life to be left alone. I really kept saying, just leave me alone, just leave me alone, but they would not leave me alone. They would not leave me alone. And maybe it has something to do because they were trying to gain ownership of my work or whatever. I'm very angry that, my social media is, shadow banned. Okay. And I think it's mainly because these people wanted to gain control. Verne's wife wanted to gain control. And I don't believe that I'm the only, and I don't like to consider myself a celebrity because I'm more of like a celebrity's daughter. But I would not be surprised if the reason why some of these celebrities do not have the count, the, what do you call it, viewer count that they are expecting is because she could have something to do with it. Okay. I guess, the thing is, there's a lot of people who have a hard time making money or making a career, so they become opportunists. I believe Rex family were opportunists, and they just got greedy and thought that they had the right to do this. They dehumanized me. Okay, they were so fixated on the apparition. They were so fixated on having something odd like that to show or whatever, that they just completely started dehumanizing me. Thinking that I didn't have the right to go find my own employment. And then I find it extremely offensive. Okay, because it has affected years of my life, and on top of it, they messed up. I believe that they stole my Patreon money as well as my Ko-fi money, and they can't account for it. They can't account for it. Okay, so they're sitting here trying to. What I find so offensive, okay, is they took my money. Okay, okay, and let's just say, for example, they didn't take my money. Let's just say, for example, they were just blocking me on Patreon. Whether they blocked me or they straight out took my money. I was out of work and I had the right to earn money to pay my bills, okay? And they were coming up with excuses like, oh, she needs to change it. I don't need to change anything. But what I do get the feeling is when it comes to Rex Laverne's wife and perhaps maybe even Diana Ross, is this whole issue of they think everything is a competition. It's not a competition. Some people make, just deep decisions in their life and they say, this is the kind of lifestyle I choose to live. Everybody has a choice of what kind of life they. Yes, people have a choice. Now, maybe Diana Ross was mistreated by her family or people that were around her, and then she felt like she was forced to live a certain way. Okay, so she tries to come at me with the same approach. Yes, I have the right to live this way. I have the right to study different things and incorporate certain things. Like, for example, I believe in nutrition. Right? I don't believe in taking pharmaceuticals. That's my right. Okay, I don't take pharmaceuticals. You know why? Because I believe it creates toxins in your body that stay in there for a very, very long time. I do not want that stuff in my body. Okay, so I don't take regular pills. Okay, so but that's my choice. And see, I don't go around telling people those things, but I know that they know it because they're very nosy. They monitor the things that I do and the things that I buy. And I'm going to say, you know what? If there's any store clerks, you really need to start keeping that stuff private. Okay, I remember back in the 90s when my sister worked for a company called Music Plus. I think it was, yeah, Music Plus. Okay, there was Music Plus, and there was a company called Blockbuster. They were competitors. My sister worked for Music Plus, right? If a customer came in and checked out videos, right? And then another customer came in, and you told the other customer what that first customer rented, you would lose your job. you would lose your job, okay, because you are violating people's privacy. Okay, just like if let's just say for example, I was a teenage boy, right? I'm about 18 years old, and I go into like Walmart and I purchase a box of condoms, right? That's a private issue. I don't need that, blared out and people knowing my business. Okay, but I have this woman, the Laverne family, right? Coming around and snooping and trying to find out what it is I buy. I don't have to justify anything to her at all. Okay, and what this is just another form of genocide. I'm supposed to submit to her will, right? To submit to her will, right, in order for me to survive. I'm supposed to be reliant on what Rex Laverne's wife says, right, in order for me to survive. This is the reason why, I believe Rex Laverne's wife, or as well as Diana, were encouraging my son's ex-boss to terminate him, okay, because they were trying to control me, okay. They have no right to do that, okay. And I also had something to do, I think I got this message that may had something to do with Elon Musk. Now maybe Rex Laverne's wife might be jealous of the fact that Elon Musk could have had an interest in me or whatever, right? And I don't know, okay, but whatever the case is, my relationship with whoever is no one's business. It's no one's business. Okay? If I was getting into a relationship with him or whoever it is, I would be in a relationship with just us two. We would communicate directly. You know what I mean? If he wants to contact me, he contacts me. Why does she feel as though she needs to be in the middle of that? Because she's a human trafficker. That's why. That's why. You know what I mean? And and she might have felt jealous. Maybe she thought that maybe Elon Musk had interest in me or whatever, and maybe she just felt jealous. I don't know what it is, but it's none of her business. It's none of her business. And see, it's people like her that I am disgusted by, and this is one of the reasons, maybe the reasons why, because I think I just started getting on this Rex Laverne's wife trip. I believe it was yesterday. Okay, I woke up and something just flashed in my mind about her, right? And something, what the message was? It was like, do not feel sorry for this woman, okay? Because I remember when I left Laverne and Sons, I remember looking at her, right? And I kept thinking, I would not want to be Rex's wife. That seems like that sucks so bad. It sucks. Because Rex Laverne to me was like the most disgusting, gross person ever. And when he touched me, like I said, he didn't touch me in a way that was sexual. It was just, I did not like this person, and I didn't want him touching me. I just thought he was something that was just morally unclean, and I call him an abomination, and I pretty much mean that, right? So, yeah, I really thought he was gross. Anyway, so, but something told me, like, this woman might be shady, right? And I wanted to just shake it out of my mind because, as far as I knew, right, I was no longer working for that company. I wasn't working for that company anymore. So, and I felt, relieved not to work for that company. And I am not happy about this woman, trailing back behind me. I am not happy about that. Okay. And so she needs to understand that she has no right to tell me how to live my life, what I'm supposed to do, what I'm supposed to wear, what I'm supposed to buy. I'm throwing it out there, and I'm going to expose it, okay? Store clerks, that's nobody's business what I buy. That is confidential. That is confidential information. It should be, okay? Because it's like, pretty much I buy pretty much the same stuff, okay? But the thing is, it's like, that's nobody's business. Nobody's business. Okay, and if I find that I'm uncomfortable with any sort of sales clerk, I will report them, or I'm going to create some sort of, what do you call it, scene in the store. I will literally, start pointing out the sales clerk. Okay, there will be no, double agents in my transactions, okay? Because what this woman is doing that's a form of human trafficking. This is exactly what traffickers do. They want to be nosy and find out what it is you're buying. Yes, and I have every right to purchase marijuana. I have every right. See, and that could have been it too. because I smoke marijuana, and she may be Mormon and she may not, okay? And I do get the intuitive message that there was this time where it had something to do with marijuana, where, what was it? What was it? Okay, I was thinking about Rex Laverne, and he had this very strange mentality about, well, the mentality of taking control over my career and stuff like that. Well, she smokes marijuana, so she should be. Yeah, it's when I felt like an injustice. Like he took my money or he was controlling that stuff. He was thinking, well, she should be happy because marijuana is legal. That's not going to satisfy me. Marijuana would be legal whether these people existed or not. Okay? So, and the fact is, why do you care about what I do? It's none of your business. It's none of your business. But I think that she might be reporting things on things like social media and Facebook and other things like that. And I am not connected. I am not responsible for Diana Ross. I am not responsible for these people. And what she did is a violation. She is she is guilty of human trafficking, is what she is. She is guilty of human trafficking. And it's none of her business. So yeah, I'm exposing her, and if people, and I don't like to bring people into stuff because the reason why I'm telling people what she did, is because part of the moral reset is trying to make people understand what their rights are, okay, and also be aware of the kind of people that you'd want to be associated with. Now I'm going to tell you, this woman, if she's that kind of person, this is how she handles things. She likes to spy on people. If she's spying on me, don't you think that she would spy on you? Don't you think she would? Okay, because she feels that some sort of sense of entitlement. She has no right to sit here and be nosy about what anybody does. Now, this whole thing about the Elon Musk thing, maybe she's doing it because she feels jealous. I don't know. You know what I mean? Maybe she does. Because, it seems like in her life, right, she just got stuck with Rex Laverne. She got stuck with Rex Laverne, okay? And, I'm somebody who chooses to make better decisions. I mean, I don't need a man. I really don't, okay? And I really don't. I'm not sitting here expecting anything from Elon Musk, okay? I don't sit here and, ask him. I don't expect anything from him. The times that I thought I was communicating with him, I pretty much just kept it light. But, some women, they get jealous and they want to compete and stuff like that. And like I said, I will never compete for a man, okay? I don't believe in marriage. And, she sees relationships in a different way. She might think that I'd be interested in Elon Musk because I would want to raise my status and I would want to somehow piggyback off of what Elon Musk has. All I'm really trying to offer Elon Musk is my true friendship. That's it, okay? And if we click, we click, okay? But I do not need people coming in between me and Rex Laverne, or telling people, or her telling celebrities, don't talk to Maria, or having people not talk to me or isolate me because she's trying to gain control over me. That's what traffickers do. That is what traffickers do, okay? But that's my business. And, I'm very angry at this woman. Very angry at this woman. What else do I want to say? Oh, okay. Now, I believe at one point that most of the celebrities and the politicians that I guess were associated with Rex Laverne, this is maybe one of the reasons why they had such a strong Mormon influence, right? And I got the intuitive message that, my soul tribe is more interested in things that I'm talking about. And this is something that she felt jealous about and competitive. Okay, that's what it is. Okay, now it's starting to make sense. That was not competition. I never realized that my soul tribe was like following me around or paying me attention until whatever. But I wasn't trying to compete against religion. If these people like my views more than Mormonism or whatever reason, they have the right to convert to it. They have the right to, or have no religion at all. They have that right. Especially if they live here in the United States, okay? So, the thing is, I'm sorry, I wanted to address this to the celebrities. You need to shun this woman if you want to protect yourself, because she's probably the one who's been damaging you in the first place. Okay, I'm going to tell if I go to a store clerk, I'm going to talk to them. Look, I don't want people telling you, I don't want you reporting what I buy. Mind you, the only thing that I'm buying, I might buy some apples, I might buy some cheese. I replace these things because I have digestive problems. So these sort of foods are the kind of foods that I can eat. Okay, because I have suffered with things like GERD, like the regurgitation at night, and it would come up my esophagus and stuff like that. So I pretty much eat basically the same kind of stuff a lot. The fruit, the cheese, and stuff like that. But that's the limited kind of foods that I can eat. Okay, and I know this. I understand what I can eat, and I find it very offensive. And I feel as though this woman, Rex Lavern's wife, exploits people. You know why? Because it's nobody's business. I don't want to have to sit here and discuss or talk about my diet, what I eat, what I choose, what the kind of foods that I like to eat, or kind of foods I have to eat, right? That is nobody's business. That's nobody's business, right? And this woman is too intrusive. She's extremely intrusive, and this is one of the reasons why I really want to get rid of her. And she must never intervene with my life ever again. Ever again. Now, I do believe that she's controlling my Facebook account, and I also believe, yes, this is what human traffickers do. Okay, look, Rex Lavern's wife. I don't know what your name is. Okay, but I'm going to address you right now. Okay, they do not have to be Mormon if they don't want to. I was not trying to convince them. You invaded my space. Okay, I uploaded my videos onto YouTube. You manned my Patreon, okay? And while you were sitting here doing your criminal activity, if these people ended up liking my form of spirituality more than Mormonism, right? Or whatever religion you're a part of, that's their choice. That's their choice. You do not resort to criminal type behavior to try to keep people in a religion. Let me tell you something. Your religion is supposed to represent your morals and prove that you are in alignment with God. That's what it's supposed to do. Okay, but you're sitting here, spying on people, being a criminal, and you've already made people realize that you're a hypocrite. Religion is not about one-upping somebody. Or spirituality, or really true connection to God is not about one-upping somebody. So, woman, you are in the wrong, okay? Do not involve yourself with my life ever again. This includes Diana Ross and any of your other little, we call it flying monkeys, okay? You have no right to sit here and involve yourself into my life the way that you have. You have no right to sit here and, that's exactly what human traffickers do. Communicate with store clerks, communicate with bank clerks, communicate with your employer, communicate with your apartment complex. You have stepped over the line, and you have only proven yourself to be guilty. Do not ever bother me again with your stupid religion. Ever. Okay? And this message keeps coming up about the whole Elon Musk thing, right? It really, really, really gets to her that I can, that Elon Musk would be interested in me, or I have the opportunity to talk to him. The thing is that this woman was stuck with Rex Laverne, okay? Her options for a decent man are not that big, okay? So she is trying to attack me because she wants to live vicariously through me, or she wants to do some sort of destiny swap. What I mean by that is, change my life so that she could live a better life, or something. You know what I mean? And this is one of the reasons why they want me to change my lifestyle, because they feel threatened by it. Well, guess what? I have every right to live my life the way I want to. Okay. Now, I also think that she has this issue with, my father's apparition. Okay. My father's apparition, like I said, I have no control over my father's apparition. I don't sit here and be like, hey, where's my... I wasn't even aware of it, okay? But because this apparition appears, it makes her feel like, well, aren't you interested in Mormonism anymore? Aren't you interested in my religion? She's really hung up on the whole me and the Elon thing, okay? But I'm going to tell you, and this goes for the entire Laverne family, stay the hell away from me. Stay the hell away from me, okay? And Diana Ross, stay the hell away from me too, okay? This is my life. And when I chose this lifestyle, it had nothing to do with competition. It has everything to do with me having a content life. That's it. A life that is filled with contentment. And that's my choice. Everybody has their choice. You know, some people like living in houses. Some people live in mobile homes. Some people buy, expensive furniture. Some people buy particle board. There are choices. What else do I want to say? I do not feel sorry for Rex Laverne's wife. Okay, and I'm going to tell you this, say this to a lot of women who are very competitive. I cannot stand competitive women. Okay, I had mentioned this before. I do not like catty women. I do not like competitive women. I do not like women who try to get involved with other people's relationships. I do not like people who want to be go-betweens. To me, like in Rex Laverne's case, trying to manage people's reputation and manage their careers and stuff like that, you stepped over the line. Okay, you have stepped over the line. I am very offended by what you've done. You have no right to tell me what to buy, what to do, how to live my life. You stay the hell out of it, and do not ever think that you have any kind of control or say so over my work. My work. Right? Now, like I said, I don't know if your members, if these people who were at once following Rex Laverne, if they choose to leave that religion, okay, because if you're trying to force that on them, they have the right to leave. Now, and like I said, I don't have a religion. I mean, I just live my life, okay, and I do create things like the Swan Song Manifesto. It is not a religion, okay, but if they have no interest in that religion, they have the right to walk away. And if you're pestering them, because this is what I was talking about, how a lot of more, like, for example, certain churches, okay, they initiate tactics like gang stalking and stuff like that. It's called cause stalking, okay? When a person wants to leave the church, they cause stalk them, meaning they like block their employment, they harass them, they start following them around, watching what they're buying and this kind of stuff. Oh my God. I cannot believe this bitch. I want to beat the shit out of her. The more I think about this woman, I want to beat the shit out of her. Okay? She has way stepped over the line. Okay? But this is the kind of stuff they do. Okay? This is a prime example of human trafficking. And, I do not appreciate it. Okay? So I'm telling this to the city of Bakersfield, do not cooperate with this woman. Okay? And I'm telling you for your own professional good. Like if you work for a company and, do not get into the habit. I'm just advising you, do not get in the habit of telling people what other customers buy. That is their personal information. You don't disclose that. You know what I mean? And what Rex Laverne is he was a cult. He was a cult leader. And I thought, after me discussing this in my newsletter, right, I was hoping that, because to me, it made sense to me, why in the world would somebody, continually bother me? You know what I mean? I'm disturbed by Rex Laverne's wife. Do not bother me ever again. Okay? I was hoping that you would kill yourself by now. And I hope that you have. Okay? I really will hope that you have. Okay? You do not betray me and think that you can be my friend. All right? As for the Soul Tribe, I had mentioned last night, and I thought it was important to say that oftentimes, celebrities are the kind of people who get taken advantage of. And this is the reason why, I was mentioning it. I believe that, Diana Ross, as well as Rex Laverne's wife, I don't even know what her name is, but I believe that they felt jealous and competitive over your spirituality, your spiritual choices. You have the right to make those choices yourself. Okay. If you're an American citizen, you do. Okay. And I do believe even, Europe, England has freedom of religion. I believe that they do. Because I know that there's Muslims there. Oh yeah, they do. Because you know why? I remember mentioning this before. Because I remember, when that other book, was it Gerald Gardner wrote that book back in the 1950s, okay? That's when it became legal to practice legally, open it out in the open, the occult, okay? So it's legal in England as well. So, I don't know what to tell her. If that's your choice, that's your choice, okay? And it should not have been a competition. I do believe that this woman is of the devil. She's of the devil. Okay, meaning like what Rex Laverne did was the devil, and what she was doing was also of the devil. And I really do not like these people. Okay, I really don't like these people. Do not inquire what I do anymore. You stay out of my business. You do not involve yourself with my life on any level. Do not involve yourself with my life on any level. Anyway, I did get in the intuitive message that my rights are respected. I do get the feeling that Diana Ross, as well as Rex Laverne's wife, are both filled with fear, right? They're filled with fear because the thing is, they ostracized me, okay? And I understood that I never did anything wrong. Now, if people were to ostracize them, they know good and well that they did something wrong. Okay? It's not like, I was able to handle it because I knew that I was in the right. So you can ostracize me if you want to, and you can do whatever you want, but I knew I didn't deserve it, and I knew that I was right in the whole situation, okay? But if Diana Ross and Rex Laverne's wife became ostracized, you know what they would be filled with fear. You know why? Because they know they would deserve it. They know that they deserve it, and they can't hide it. You know why? Because they spread it around. They wanted everybody to participate with it, and they can't deny it. It can't be denied. What else do I want to say? Okay, so that's about it. Whatever happens, happens. I do need to find work, and I need to figure out what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? I do not want to work for an employer who is a part of this, this hate campaign, okay? And I do not want anything to do with that woman. So we'll see what's going on, and I will definitely keep you up to date. But, I'm really sorry, to the Soul Tribe celebrities, that these people brainwashed you, is basically what they did, okay? They brainwashed you. And, I'm truly sorry about that. And you have the right to choose your own religion and make up your own mind, okay? Don't let people, because see, they know what they're doing. They know that you guys don't have a lot of experience, and this was well calculated and well planned to take advantage of you. And I am so sorry that they have. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap up this video. Hopefully, I'll get some work done today. My brain is still spinning because I feel extremely threatened by what this person did. I feel extremely threatened by what this person did. And when I feel threatened, my mind starts flashing because I start dealing with fear, what's going to happen, and they constantly put you in a state of fear. Okay, this is one of their tactics. Okay, this is one of the reasons why I that proves that they are what they are. They use things like, coercion and these these kinds of bullying tactics. So anyway, for my soul tribe, stay tuned. If they threaten you with some sort of consequence for choosing to not follow them, you just keep standing strong because you have every right to do what you want to do. It is a cult, and you have the right to leave it. Anyway, I'm going to get off here and hopefully start my day. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Take care.